I don't really think the topic of supers is brought up in a positive light in platform fighters. Some could say that it's because most games don't really innovate with this in mind, and others say that it's just because it's a mechanic that's not really needed. But to me, I think the claim is something entirely different. I think it's due to the belief that it just doesn't and wouldn't work. And this becomes more understandable when you know the past about these certain mechanics, especially with Super Smash Bros. However, I think it's possible. There's a way to make it acceptable, and I think I've figured it out. So, let's explore. So, what do supers need to be tolerable in a platform fighter? I think there's 4 things to keep in mind: the properties, the volume, the duration, and when it's activatable. These sort of building blocks could be the difference to have supers actually be competitively viable. And with that, there is a lot to talk about. So, let's start with properties. So what are properties? To me, there are 3 different things that they fall under when you talk about properties. That would be states, percentage, and knockback. States are things that affect characters. So, as an example, things such as tripping, or the sleep status, or even stunning people. That would be a state that affects opponents. When in specific scenarios, these types of moves are devastating, especially when not balanced well. See, let's look at Peach's Final Smash, for example. This super basically just makes all opponents sleep. This is bad because there's not really much counterplay for this sort of thing, because unless you mash like really hard, the sleep state basically guarantees that you either pick up things that can increase your health, or you just get hit with a smash attack and then you die, or comboed even. Things like these that have way too powerful effects, especially for like doing a single action, can really make it so that it's completely not usable or not viable to have super moves be in this sort of way. So, the next 2 are percent and knockback. This is self-explanatory. It's just how much percent you can rack up and how far a move sends out to the stage. Now, pair these up together and you have a match made in hell to deal with. How? Easy. When a single thing can be done both in a platform fighter, you die. Instead of having these sort of close games where a single well-timed attack can end it, how about we just don't do that? How about we just press a single button that kills the opponent in a vague area? Screw movement, screw predictions, screw anything really. I have an instant kill button. I honestly believe that you gotta think about how our traditional fighter brethren try this sort of thing. See, this might be a side tangent, but unlike traditional fighters, in platform fighters, there's so many more opportunities to get and be killed. You can die from an attack with high knockback, you can get thrown near the blast zone even with low percent, you can get spiked even if you're at 0. In traditional fighters, you have one single bar of health, and once it's gone, it's gone. Because of this, a super for traditional fighters basically only does one type of damage to kill. So, you can balance it appropriately. Think about it like this, right? Imagine if there was a traditional fighter where you die by being sent to the corner. Oh. Well, that was a bad example. Fuck it, I don't really like Strive anyway. Xrd 2 all day, son. Okay, but seriously here. A super for Platform Fighter is not just damage, but it's a mix of all three. And making sure to balance it makes it possible for maybe an evolution to this sort of thing. Because there's more things to think about instead of just damage. The volume that these moves sort of take up should also be taken into consideration. Otherwise, it kind of takes the skill away from the game. Like, for example, right? If a super is used, if the distance it has is incredible or even full screen, you'll get easy kills. Almost to the point where it's over-centralizing. How? Well, let's look at something like traditional fighters again. The formula has been figured out. And options like movement, guarding, resources, makes it so that supers aren't overbearing. In platform fighters, because killing a person is more volatile and air mobility is stronger, even when you compare them to air dashers, having high volume makes moves be broken without consideration. If the damage and knockback are even just decent, some characters like Mario, Sonic, and Peach would simply dominate the game if they actually had their final smashes. I mean, think about it. If the move just takes all this space and it gives all this time in order for you to, like, get that kill, then what's there to do? Where's the counterblade to that sort of thing? What, shielding? What, just to get it broken? You might as well just kill yourself. It's stupid. I think you gotta have a sort of balance. You can't just have every move be basically half or even the entirety of the stage, because there's no room for good design balance. In traditional fighters, some are long range, some are short, some are medium range, some grab, others have good chip damage, and that's because there's one life bar to maintain. When it's platform fighters, it's not just one, it's like 3. That's why you really need to take an account when it comes to the volume, because it matters a lot. Duration. Let's say you have all the other stuff down packed. What would be the next thing to consider? Well, it would be how long the super would last. I know it seems annoying that I keep using traditional fighters in order to make points, but traditional fighters have a lot of good insight for these things. So looking at them can kind of give us a good basis in how we can make our game better. So, in those games, supers usually don't tend to last very long, whether it's for chip damage or a whole install. Usually the super doesn't have to last long to kill the opponent, and usually there's counterplay or weaknesses to have that sort of install or to have that sort of super. When you look at transformation supers in things like Brawl or Smash 4, not only do you get a form that is straight up better than the original, but you also get so much time to get a stock that's practically guaranteed. So much so that people are literally wasting their invulnerability just for the super to stop. And if you're abusing something like that just because a move is just doing that long, then there's a problem. Because even if the percent difference is only 3, with enough time, that percentage is actually gonna feel like 40. The activatable window is a huge one to me. See, you want supers to be activated easily enough without intruding on other specials, at least to me. Some fighters do this in special ways. Some have a certain motion execution to do a move, like most traditional and most air dashes like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter do this. And in team games like Marvel vs. Capcom or even Skullgirls, how to do the super is actually the same. It's just hitting a certain motion and 2 buttons, usually. That seems pretty decent enough, but in platform fighters, it's been a little complicated as of late. See, before Smash Ultimate, the only way to get a super is to hit a Smash Ball, which sucks if you wanted to consider it for competitive play. It's random. And what I mean is random, almost everything about it is random. When it moves is random. It can randomly take more or less hits than usual, and it could just be anywhere when it shows up. It is awful. There's no strategy to get it, there's no bar to maintain, nothing. Even Dragon Ball FighterZ, who has, like, I wouldn't say the worst, but one of the mechanics that everyone knows that they don't like is like the Dragon Balls. And it's way better designed, and it's basically a side thing. To get a super should be controlled, not RNG based. Hell, even when you have Smash Ball, there's also this problem, right? It completely replaces your B button. That's right, if you say don't want to go for a final smash and wanted to create some distance with your blaster, you can't. You have to go in and you have to use it in order to go for other moves. So a whole thing that you wanted to do is basically replaced, even though this doesn't happen for other fighters ever. Again, I know it seems a little annoying that I keep bringing it up, but traditional fighters, air dashers, all those sort of different fighters, they have basically it down packed. So taking a few pointers is not bad at all, in my very humble opinion. Now, is it all doom and gloom? Does this mean that we're done? Does this mean that we are stuck in a future where the whole genre will continue to botch a mechanic like this? No, actually. Because with evil always comes good. And to have this good, we must abandon Smash's poor design for a new era. Smash Studio may not be the most popular platform fighter out there, but it definitely landed how supers should work. Not only can you gain super when you get hit or you hit something else, but the uses for supers are actually diverse and balanced. See, high volume attacks are slow, but can also be countered. Low volume moves do high knockback, but are low percentage. Hell, even Rushdown Revolt, which is something I really want to get into a video later, but for now, Rushdown Revolt kind of only has one character that has a super. But the sort of parameters to get that super, and even if the volume is high, the movement and defensive options make it manageable even if it did happen. This kind of game design and game sense is the things that platform fighters would need in order to really get out of this bubble that supers are just things that cannot be worked out and cannot be used in platform fighters, because they can. If we just follow these 4 design philosophies to a T and really put our mind into it, supers can be a thing that's hype, fun, clutch, and balanced enough that everyone doesn't see us as a party game. But those are just my thoughts. Now leave a like and comment down below, you fucks.